Um, Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the new show. Sassy and Savage, but now we're known as the Double S Club. So we're here with your main boy, Rohan, aka Mr. Remarkable, the producer. We got our boy Andrew Coley, aka Lord 905, and we got our lovely Miss Lexi Samuel. Same as the social tags. So you can definitely touch base with that. We're gonna start off by just kind of putting out a little rest in peace for DMX, another fallen soldier, and not only influential individual rapper, artist, actor, but another pillar of our community, regardless of the way you put it. He was a very influential person, not only in our community, but in the world of music and hip hop and fashion, you name it. Like, there's a lot of people who know who he is. Like, the infamous stop drop. Anybody's gonna roll off the rest of the track if you know anything about hip hop and music. So it's definitely a tragic time. Our condolences go out to the family and all the fans and everybody who's been blessed and touched by him. But by all means, so how you all feeling dealing with the loss of X?
I would say it's horrible. It's not something that we were all ready to hear or even expecting to hear. I would say he was going through a lot. Like, he went through a lot of poverty and a lot of horrible things in his life in the recent past and in the past in general. I feel like a lot of people weren't really taking in what he was going through. Like, people were watching him kind of like dissipate, like, slowly, in a sense. Like, he was going through his moments even with his mental health, and I feel like a lot of people didn't take that seriously at the time when he was being very open about it, because he was. It's not like he held on to it and like kept quiet. Like, he was actually trying to like show people what was really going on in his life, with his personal life, with himself, with the industry as well too, like, for sure. And not much people were taking it seriously as much until the end, and I feel like people were just kind of like thinking he was just going crazy, because I remember like a little while back then, like, people were thinking he was just going nuts, but that's not the case. Like, before people even try to take in your story, they just jump to "you're crazy," and people were just caring more about his police records and certain things that were going on with that, instead of actually taking in that he was going through something. So it's just, with the mental health situation, I would say people should be more mindful with mental health, because it could lead to situations like this, and you don't want to get it to this point, right? So
Yeah.
I definitely co-sign that. For me, this X situation is terrible. I mean, it hits home in another way for me because I lost my uncle to drug addiction, and the same pain that basically X was facing is the same thing my uncle fell through when it comes to family members and basically people not talking to him at the end, and then him tragically passing. It's a deep scar thing. I mean, X was always a pained man. He put himself out there. Like, he was one of the first dudes we seen cry, and that was acceptable in hip hop. Like, he was a completely emotive person. He put his life on the line multitudes of times and basically gave everything that he could to the industry. He just felt back and found out that it was a little bit fake, and it took him back, and his life took struggle after that, and he's just never recovered. And stuff like that bothers me due to the fact that we always elevate our heroes just to watch them fall, and rather than help them back up, we watch them fall to infamy, and then we put the rest in peace out, and then we say, oh my god, we miss these people, but while they're still alive, we don't say these things to them. And that's one of the things that bothers me about X and all the other stars that passed. We wait too late
I
to say
mean,
goodbye.
yeah, and I think it also speaks to the nature of the community and stuff like that. Because, like, you're trapped in the limelight of drugs and all that, um like that image. And a lot of people look at it as fun and exciting and stuff like that. And sometimes it's a cry for help, right? Like,
Yeah, it's
we're
a stigma.
recognizing, yeah, we're recognizing now that a lot of people at the end of their journey were struggling with these things. And I guess it speaks to the fact that there's not that many channels for people to really communicate their issues, right? Because, like, you can hear in some of his music, um, he went through a lot of spectrums. Even some of his songs, like what what you bitches want from a nigger, you could sit here and be like, oh, okay, Like, is it the fact that you want money and stuff like that? But it could be in a situation being like, what do you expect, right? What do you need? What are you really asking for? And like if you reevaluate some of his tracks and some of his lyrics, it might come up to a second message. Not saying it wasn't necessarily a cry for help, but it could have been a way that he was creating a channel of conversation to open up these things.
I've always.
I think.
Sorry,
I think out of. Oh, sorry about that.
No, go.
Out of I would say out of all celebrities or anybody that's in the limelight, I'm not gonna lie to you, I feel like DMX is one of them that actually did voice it versus other people that have passed on and hid their depressions and stuff like that. Like, he actually was outspoken about it, because I remember a couple interviews he had in the past.
Oh yeah.
And, he was very outspoken about it, especially with Charlemagne. Like, I was watching a couple of interviews with him too. He was very open. And a lot of people, I will never forget, a lot of people were calling him crazy. They were going against the grain with him, and they weren't even taking him seriously. Like, they were just thinking he was someone with a brain problem, in a sense. Like, he just doesn't know what he's saying. Like, he's just,
we see parallels. We see parallels with that with Kanye and a lot of other celebrities that are giving the cry for help. I mean, the problem with X as a whole is X's celebrity was literally his status. Like, as he rose, his status within our community elevated. And then he got to a point where he was a leader, and he himself couldn't embrace that. To some degree, like, you have to have followers that are willing to basically accept you for who you are. And as much as people like to talk great about DMX, nobody accepted him for who he truly was.
Exactly.
He spoke
I agree with that.
every day about mental health. He spoke out about loving God and needing therapy and needing a wantingness to be accepted and never feeling that acceptance every day. A lot of us struggle with that internal issue and never get the chance to actually voice it. Like, I'm an artist and I do the same thing. I put out all my pain on record, and a lot of people, there's only one or two times people truly get what you're trying to say.
But it's kind of unfortunate that, like, it's a sign of the nature of the industry, because you have to uphold that image in order to be taken seriously when it comes to your role. And if you deviate from it, that's when people call you messed up, right? But it just reinforces the fact that there's not that many open channels for people to say, yeah, I can still be this individual, this hard, raw, like DMX was like from the street.
Raw dude on the planet, bro.
Right. And for him to say, I'm still that dude, right? Like, I'll run up on a man's and like let him know what's good. But at the same token, it's just like, it hurts, right? It hurts to kind of deal with some of the stuff that he has to deal with. So, it's unfortunate that, like, a lot of these people, and again, with a celebrity status, gave him access to these resources, albeit it's not beneficial, to become victim to it, and not having the right channels to have people around him be able to talk to and walk him through the things, or at least be able to express his stuff and be taken seriously, and opposed to be just taken as another loopy Negro who's just trying to say, yo, I got problems. Everyone's just like, why do you have problems? You got money, you got fame, you got this. What's your issue? I have issues.
Problem with our community. I think our biggest issue we have with our community is acceptance of mental health issues.
Yes.
We push our community and we push people with mental issues to the side and pretend like their issues are normalized and they should be able to be fixed with money.
Yeah, it goes to education.
Tons of people, like X had his whole entire personal staff trying to chase him down from time to time. I've watched whole videos about Swiss Beats trying to take him out to the farmland and, like, keep his mind calm. He had demons.
Not only that, I've noticed with our community too, like, in general, like with the Black community, they kind of like push away mental health in a sense of like, here's where it has to go back now for a second. Like, you see how we're trying to throw away that narrative that Black people can't feel pain and that we have to be so strong. That's another reason also why our own Black people also kind of push away mental health, because they look at it as, oh, get over it, things will get better. Or it gets like, today it's like, it's an everyday thing. So everyone like pushes it away. Not only that, especially with the Caribbean culture as well, it's heavily strong with that. Like, they don't really take it seriously. They think whatever you're talking about isn't that deep, but it's even more sad for a Black man. That's another topic. With females, yeah, it's much easier to believe that because everyone also has that narrative of, oh, like females are more emotional, da 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 da, etc. But I've noticed with men, they always have to be the strong ones. They always have to be the ones not expressing anything. Like it's like society forces men to act like they don't have an issue. Like they're always strong. They're always this. So that's another thing too with DMX. Like I feel like he felt pressured too as well, like to be a quote unquote man, if that makes sense. If you know what I'm saying.
No,
Like
you're 100%.
No, it makes a lot of sense. Like there's a lot of pressure for there's a lot of pressure for men
like,
in general to kind of be at the top of their game, you know, to step with purpose. And when they have an issue, you're like the term man up, right? What is that constituting? It's just like, you know, have to be strong. You have to be in a position to be like, you know, take on any degree of pain, any degree of challenge, not ask questions, react, be instantaneous. And it's just like anytime you're doubting yourself or you're in a situation where you're questioning anything or you're just feeling a type of way, it's like, who are you really going to express to? Because you can't necessarily go to your peers, right? Like, like Andrew, if I came to you and said, yo, I'm upset, like, it'd be like, bruh, what's wrong with you? Like,
no, to some degree, though, me and you talk
no,
different.
I'm saying the norm, right? Like, we have
bro.
enough understanding between each other that we could say, yo, you wouldn't come to me and say you have a problem unless you have a problem. But in the general, right? Like, you can't go to your fellow mans and be like, yo, I'm not feeling good about the situation. And you're like, hey, you know what? Let's talk.
Nice, bro.
I mean, not only that, Rohan, but what I noticed, like, with men, too, it's like, I feel like low-key, they do want to open up to their homeboys or their friends or whatever, but I feel like at the same time, they feel like they're gonna be belittled or be looked at as, oh, like you're being a girl or whatever. Like, you know what guys would say, guys would say, but
I think you're right. I think you're both 100% right in the aspect that our community doesn't deal well with mental health. And then added to the aspect that we take so much time in empowering every person that's doing well rather than taking care of the ones that are falling, that our entire dynamic is completely backwards. We spend so much cultural placement on people being up, or if they're on drugs, they're having the time of their life, when 90% of the people who have died from these conditions were all literally screaming for help. We can go down the list of people who have literally had and died from mental health issues all the way down to a head. Like, take for example, we just had the anniversary of Keith Ledger, like a man who literally, it wasn't the fault of like imbalance or like, you know, him having drugs, but literally he had an imbalance shift while on a character, and it drove him.
I wouldn't only say people look at it as like you're having fun either. Like also on another note of that, there might be some that look at it as, oh, they're having fun, whatever. But then there's another half that deems that celebrity as, oh, they're crazy, let's ignore them because they're taking drugs, instead of going, what's going on, instead of saying what's going on with them. Yeah.
Is it possible to think that because, since we're highlighting it's a community issue, that perhaps the community doesn't have the luxury to be soft? If you factor in like, you know, racism and prejudice and all that sort of stuff, like it's when you're fighting against the world and all that sort of stuff, showing a sign of weakness kind of has the projection that, like, you know, you're already seen as a minority or in certain extent an inferior. So when you show sadness, weakness, that kind of stuff, it shows another degree of being lesser than.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, but I also think it's like internalized issue when it comes to men. We are taught and roamed the earth in belief that if we walk around and shed a tear openly, we are weak. And that is a principle that needs to change. Young boys need to understand that crying is acceptable.
Exactly.
But it's not. The idea that we're in a community now of people who are free thinking and that actually have the ability to make up their own mind, and we still think that it is emasculating to cry or to show emotion or to show weakness, that is literally the definition of oxymoronism. We can't be free thinkers if we act that way. And that's the thing. I'm not even talking about culturally. I'm talking about as a society. We do not accept men with pain. We look at Charlie Sheen. He was literally effing the world, screwing over everybody. That's a mental issue. He's literally trying to say that he cannot find somebody to commit with. But yet we for years celebrated his philanderism and acted like it was a part of the norm. Like that, to be a man and to be a slut is to be a norm when there could be a huge amount of problems behind it.
Well, that's where being yourself comes in. That's how you can tell that majority of society does things to impress others instead of just being themselves. Because if everyone was to be themselves, they would just express things and wouldn't give two craps what anyone says. Because in all honesty, holding in emotions just makes you more damaged. People think holding in your emotions is going to make you strong. No, it actually gives you the opposite spiritually. Yeah. Like spiritually, if you don't release those toxic emotions, those toxic feelings, you're just basically transmuting it inside of yourself. And then you're going to end up projecting onto other people that's around you, which also leads up to other people acting that and so on and so forth, meaning it's a chain reaction. That's why everyone's holding and everyone's acting like, oh, they can ignore this person or they could be this toxic or whatever and act like it's something that's an accomplishment when it's really not. Like I'm someone of like, I'll tell somebody cry it out. The reason why I would say cry it out because you're letting go, you're basically releasing all those negative feelings so that you can feel better after. Because haven't you realized after you finish crying, you feel so much better? You feel so much better because you released all that negativity out of your system, out of your body. The more that you hold that in, it's just topping off more negative energies that you already had. So yeah. I would say for men, I feel like nowadays that narrative should change and people should just start releasing, even if it has to be in private. If you don't want to show it, do it in private, so at least you could be your better self out to everybody else instead of it's all.
Well, I mean, the best way of putting this in the way I look at it all together, encapsulating the DMX tragedy and all men in general that pass from these type of issues is mental health is a struggle in itself. Acceptance, and it's a struggle, willingness to want acceptance. And the reason why I say that is, how many people do we know in our own lives going through turmoil that we just write off as they're having a bad day when it's a constant bad day? The one thing we do for each other, and what I take from this, is that we can spend a lot more time checking in on our friends, our families, the ones that are close to us. We spend far too many times trapped in our own day, running from situation to situation, and we just let the norms pile up, and we let that detriment in your soul build up, and we let that fire burn out. Why? Because we're allowing things to eat away at your soul. And I think that's the worst thing for all of us. Mental health checks are important, and seeing as if DMX passing another narrative closed for me, it was just reminded me of how it is. Like, he's a fallen soldier. I'll forever remember him. He'll always be in my heart. His music will always be bumping. And just the amount of people we lose to these type of things, like losing DMX also brings up feelings of losing Robin Williams. Is like people didn't realize he was having so much mental health issue at the time, and then he passed. Same thing with Anthony Bourdain. These are all people who like had the world at their shoulders, and through drugs or through suicide or through whatever means they needed through a release, decided that dying or having death come to them was easier. What are you guys' thoughts about that?
To be honest, I just took in that you brought up Sagittarius people.
That's true.
I've noticed a lot of Sagittarius. We go through a lot. Like I don't mean to bring up signs, but I have to spit out like something serious. Like when it comes to that, like I've noticed with our sign, we're the happiest sign, but we hide a lot of our emotions. Like we hide a lot of our BS that we're going through. And like in general with everybody, people should stop doing that and actually speak to people that's close to them and release, because then it will lead to mental health, as you said before too.
I mean,
yeah, considering
all the people that we lost recently and discovering mental health, it should be more of a conversation for people to understand that it's okay to express yourself. and try and build a relationship with people around you that you can have these kind of conversations, because even if you don't totally understand or can relate to someone's going to, just listening and hearing them out and letting them know that, like, someone's a little at least concerned and interested in their well-being can speak volumes. It might encourage more people to turn to communication as opposed to drugs, narcotics, and extraneous behavior in order to release themselves. And everyone should work towards finding balance, especially now with everything that's going on with COVID. The world's slowed down enough that people should be finding ways to it's not a preach, but like an opportunity to find ways to center themselves. So if they're going through stuff, they can relax, and if they need to reach out to somebody, just have that conversation. Otherwise, we're going to continue losing people over things that could be avoided, right? Like, God knows he wasn't done. He wasn't done teaching. He wasn't done preaching. He wasn't done performing. It's not like a situation where him, Robin Williams, Heath Ledger, Prince. It's like we can go through the list.
Bro, we can go. The list goes on with so many of our fallen soldiers that really, really were on the cusp of this, man.
To be honest with you, there's one person you mentioned earlier that we do need to literally pay attention to this time, because this person's still alive, is Kanye
West. I keep preaching about it. I've been trying,
because he's literally a legend. If he passes, that's a whole nother story.
Bro, people keep pushing Kanye into the crazy spectrum of life, not seeming to realize that Kanye has always been Kanye. Kanye is the synesthetic. He is a person that sees things that he cannot explain. Like, the way he makes music, from my understanding, is he can see the waveform of how music is basically put together. And he can take out notes in his mind and he can replace them, and he can't explain that. So the way he sees the world is almost on the autism spectrum, from my understanding, or the vocality to actually express what he sees sometimes. And I think that's why people take him as like a crazy person.
I've noticed people, the ones that call him crazy are the ones who aren't even really woke, because he's spiritually woke. The things he says is mostly spiritual. If you understand spirituality, or if you're spiritually woke yourself, you're spiritually conscious, you will understand the things he's been saying. That's why I understood him since from the get.
The line between being crazy and being a genius is incredibly thin. You toe that line, you step over either one, and you're in that spectrum of either being crazy or being a genius. Kanye tailors the end of genius more times than he tailors the end of crazy. He is literally, you don't get to $1 billion after you lose all of your money within 2 years without having some form of genius in your brain. Like, you don't get to achieve the things he's done without actually putting real thought behind it. Like, Reebok was a secondary brand. Literally, like, bro, how many years ago did people were only talking about Nike or only talking about like this? Once Kanye jumped ship, he literally changed that entire platform's brand.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's just like society needs to mature, and I'm not talking about in regards to like some of the other issues that we're dealing with, but when it comes to the mental aspects and learning that people who think differently aren't necessarily crazy, and think people who think differently, it's like,
can you please repeat that so people can hear it?
Huh?
Can you please repeat that so people can hear it?
Oh, people who think differently aren't necessarily crazy. Like, look at all the inventors back in the day, like Rembrandt, Albert Einstein, Picasso and stuff like that. They were viewed as crazy, and then they ended up being revolutionaries in their time. So, like, people need to respect the fact that anybody liberal way of thinking is just another way of thinking. It's not right, it's not wrong, it's not up, it's not down, it's just another way of thinking. And if we learn to embrace those aspects, a lot of people would be happier for it. And who knows, like, the creativity that these people hold may open and unlock new wonders, new ways, new realities. So, like, they should be encouraged and embraced, especially these people who are able to function within society, but just, every now and again, it's just like, hey, like, I taste colors. Okay, cool. Tell me about it, right?
I mean, here's
So
the biggest narrative switch we have to make as a culture and as a society. It's not only mental health, it's people who are in the abyss. Anybody who sees darkness and doesn't see a way up, we need to find better ways of communicating with them rather than just be
Yeah.
okay. Like the language needs to change. Like I hear a lot of people talking about how they're, on board with mental health and all of this stuff, but we still use the same language to communicate to people.
Hmm.
We still go if fix up, or like in our community there's so much different narratives that we use about that, but we don't necessarily take care of each other in that way. We need to have a different discussion. We need to like make going to therapy normal, like Charlemagne said, for real. We need to like
Yeah.
have
So
these discussions like it's a general normal thing. Like mental health check at least once a month with all my friends. Like I make sure about it.
that's good. Because like for me, when I started having a therapist, like what 2 years ago, I still have my therapist till this day, just in case.
yeah, no.
That's not crazy. That's me taking care of my mental health. Why am I gonna sit in the corner and be depressed if I have the outlet to get a therapist and actually like fix my problems, or get advice, or have it some type of guidance? Like people shouldn't call people crazy for actually getting help.
Well, at the end of the day, the only thing that's
Because
constantly
that causes people to not want help, because they're going to think to them, hey, if I go get help now, think to open up about their mental health.
yeah.
Like, I mean, all right. Here's a question for the panel, since we're on the discussion of celebrating life after death. Out of all of the actors that are passed, out of all of the musicians who are passed, what death do you think impacted the world the most? Because we had like the timeline of Heath Ledger's death. We've had the timeline of dude from Fast and the Furious. We've had so many other people who've passed. Like, which death do you think impacted their industry the most?
Such a hard
Like
question.
when it comes to rappers, or
No,
like
anybody. I think
group?
yeah, anybody.
Death impacts everybody. Like, what are we gonna go all the way? Like, yeah, like Princess Diana, like, like.
No. We don't need to go back that far.
I would say Michael Jackson, if anything, because no one was really expecting his death, and he impacted the entire world. All artists.
I was actually going to say Prince, but yeah, I can see where you're going with that one. Because for me, learning of all the hidden business and learning about all the stuff that happened behind closed Prince, because he was so private and he would have never talked about it while he was alive. After he died, amazing.
Yeah, I would say he's the second biggest one that impacted, but Michael Jackson was number one for sure. And like the whole world was crying.
I mean, they did call him Wacko Jacko for a while, bro. It wasn't no, I mean, it's not a joke thing. Like we are talking about acceptance and we're talking about all of these things. It's all comes into context. Like, look at Kobe. Everybody didn't like Kobe. Like in the end, no, it wasn't just that. Like in the end, you still had people talking shit on his name when he died.
True.
Like, look at that reporter who got dragged for bringing up the rape allegations the day he died, and that other comedian, Ari Shafir, who basically went off on a fuck Kobe rant, part of my language, but he was basically saying like, oh, he did it as a joke, or he thought it was funny to do it as a parody joke, or shitting on people when they die, and he picked Kobe. Like, come on. There's a lot of people who they don't even care, even if you die. It's fuck you while you're still alive, and fuck you while you die.
Yeah. Well, it's going to happen with everybody, right? There's going to be some people who don't care, and there's going to be a bigger group that does care. But that's society for you.
Yeah, I mean, and another point, just shout out to Vanessa Bryan for being so strong lately and dealing with all the things that she's probably had to deal with, still raising her daughters and still being a strong woman in the community.
Exactly. And DMX too, and his family, because I'm sure his kids are really heartbroken right now and dealing with it.
Send our condolences and our love.
At the end of the day, I guess we should wrap up on this aspect. Definitely. Any final points from you guys before we have like a closing statement on this?
I'll let you guys say what you guys say.
I guess the only thing I can really say about this is that we're constantly reminded of how short life is. We're losing a lot of influential people, both in the world of media, music, you name it, as well as people around us. And with everything that's going on right now, it's just a reminder that you should check in. Like, for those of you who have people close in your life, you should touch base with them, make sure they're okay, have that conversation. It's amazing how the statement, "Are you okay? How you doing?" speaks a lot to people. Even if it's just a conversation opener and be like, "Hey, I'm there for you. I'm here to listen." It speaks volume, because people always need your help. Whether or not they ask for it or they don't ask for it, they can always use it. Like, find me a man who will say no to a helping hand, and I'll find you a liar, right? Like, everybody can use the support in some capacity. With that being said, we should all take responsibility for ourselves as well. Have the checks whether or not you can afford therapy, you can afford having conversations. If you don't feel confident that you can have conversations with your friends and peers, there's a lot of institutions and groups out there, like the helplines and that kind of stuff, to walk people through situations and bring them back. And not to put pressure on anybody, I know the world's a heavy place, but um, your actions have ramifications, right? Like, I'm quite certain there's a lot of people who are upset with X's passing, and even though he didn't intend to do what he did, it's kind of one of those things where it's just like, if you're in a position to touch a lot of people like he did, it sucks when you're gone, because you know you're you're leaving behind, yes, a legacy, but at the same time, people who needed you, people who are going to miss you, people who are going to feel a type of way with your absence, whether or not they feel it the day of, the week, year later, it's going to be that thing. So if you're feeling that way, like, sometimes, like, it's a crude way to spin the statement, but it's not just about you, right? Like, there's a lot of people who are going to be affected by your actions. So, a simple check is in their best interest as well, right? Yes, you need to protect yourself, but you're influencing a lot of people, so you should always take that in consideration.
Lexi, your thoughts?
I think I've said everything I needed to say with the DMX topic.
All right. For me, I'm standstill of, please hold people close. Don't put them up on a pedestal just to watch them fall and then delight in their fall because you expected it. It's a terrible, terrible slope we weave when we expect people not to be human. We all fall. You show me a person that climbed up a hill in victory, and show me a man that didn't fall 1,000 times, and I'll call you a liar. The best thing that we can do for ourselves is hold the people that we admire close and elevate them to the stature that they need to be elevated to. But also remember that they are human and they need your love too. And that's my final thought.
Cool. All right. So
what
from
do you guys think about?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, did I cut you off?
No, you were gonna say the same thing. You're probably gonna talk about the Prince Philip now, right?
I was gonna move on to Prince. I think it was Prince Philip and Kerry Washington's tweet towards DMX and Prince Philip as well. I was gonna ask how you guys felt about her tweet, but if you guys don't remember what she said, anybody else wondering what DMX and His Royal Highness Prince Philip are chatting about together at the pearly gates? My love to both their families. May they both rest in peace.
All right, I'll take this one off the top. I don't think she meant to be malicious by it. It's just her timing and her words are stupid, just due to the fact that those two people will never ever in life probably see each other to some degree.
On.
Like,
you're telling me they're not up in heaven, probably having a drink or something like that?
The picture for you right now. X is on his way up to heaven. He's about to like pass through the pearly gates. We about to do the whole thing, and everybody be welcoming him up there, all his past relatives and family. You think he gonna pass Nipsey Hussle? You think he gonna pass all the good dudes on the way up and say, "Well, go on to Prince Philip"? Let's be real. Come on, my G.
Bro, they're all. Hey, heaven could be the great equalizer, right? Everybody could be everybody up there. We don't know. So
that's true. I'm putting a human spin on things.
Right. So
someone in response someone in response said the assumption that DMX and that white man are going to the same place. Now, Miss Washington, please.
Oh wow.
Well, I mean, he do got a lot of bodies on his list, bro. Like, I'm not gonna lie. X got a better chance to go into heaven, in my opinion.
Thank you. Here's my thing. This is what I was trying to tell Rohan earlier. I was like, okay, yeah, you can't tell people where they're gonna go, but let's keep it real and funky.
Let's keep it a
You
buck.
really think? Thank you. You really think that family, the royal family, is going anywhere near Jesus and his throne?
No, bro, they probably bought their way in. They definitely bought their way in. They got a pope or two on their call list.
Like,
They're sitting at the pearly gates being like, oh, we did it in the name of the Lord. Like, that should be my clout. Let me in.
that family caused so much havoc to the world and to other countries for decades upon decades. You think God even accepts what they did to his people?
Hey,
I don't
man,
think so. But
he created equal.
even if he does end up in heaven, or if he did, right? I doubt it. Him and DMX would even correlate in that type of form, because I believe when you pass, you're just in a whole different thing, a whole different dimension, a whole different situation. I doubt that, but I hear what Carrie's saying. I hear what she's saying, and I know she didn't mean it in a malicious way. I know she just meant it in a friendly way, but at the end of the day, it was kind of a stupid tweet, because I wouldn't have even wrote that. It was really bad timing, and it was just bad wording too as well. I just thought it was very off.
142 characters is a hard thing to express yourself when you don't know how.
Yeah, it was a really tone deaf tweet. I thought she could have at least did separate tweets for that, because it was two separate people, two different
That's
situations.
definitely true.
Yeah, like, all good intention aside, that's kind of a little bit of social responsibility. She should have put it like, rest in peace X, rest in peace Prince. No one's gonna fault you and being like, oh, why'd you separate them, da 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 da. It's just like, if anything, it's just like they both deserve their own respects. Like, I'm not gonna lump them together. It's like, bro, if you're gonna do that, you might as well just be like, rest in peace, everyone.
Are you just too lazy to tweet 2 times? Is that the thing? Is that what we're trying to get at? Like, you were too lazy to hit 2 different cosigns on the tweets?
No, but there's a way to do it. She could have done it separately, but still in the same tweet.
No, she could have made it easy. She could have just simply said, tonight we lost 2, in this week we lost 2 fallen angels. Rest in peace to DMX and Prince Philip.
Exactly.
Yeah, or separate tweets.
Or separated that, or separated it. I'm just saying, she did not need to put the quip about them being in heaven together having a drink.
Like, I'm good at Photoshop, but you're not gonna see me put a photo of both of them together. Nah.
You know that, bruh,
exactly.
Bro, dude, have you seen the memes of the death? Yo, bro, I wish I could pull it up. I'll show it to you guys later. Maybe Rohan can put it in a post if it doesn't get us in trouble. But there is a picture of basically a gravestone, and everybody's around it, and it's Meghan Markle doing the squat position.
Oh, come on. Yeah, I've seen that.
Bro, I was dying. I'm like, who does these type of things in their day life, bro? That is the most insensitive shit on the planet. Funny as hell, but hella insensitive.
Someone said one of them slid down the little Nas X pole to hell, and it wasn't DMX.
Oh my God, no!
I'm sorry.
Yo,
funny.
that is serious, bro.
No, like, come on. If everyone in the world feels the same way, I don't know what to say. Because to be honest with you, even I kind of feel the same way. Like,
I'm just dying the whole little Nas X line, like, because he's definitely trolled his way into the hearts of many this week.
Oh, for sure. That's just, I don't know. All of that is just crazy. But alongside that, let's talk about Quavo and Saweetie.
Oh boy, here we go. Now, my real question is, all right, like, before we release all that, what we know or what we found out, I just want to know. Here's a side topic for the actual topic. When these people break up, like when these relationships fray, and the inevitability of them, they are now separating. Are we as an industry, or are we supposed to care about the significant other, the one that's not famous? Like, why do we put so much emphasis on when people break up? Like, who gives a shit?
I've realized
that's a good question.
I've realized over time, social media is what made people care about the artist's personal life. Because I remember way in the past, back in the day, we just cared about the artistry, what they had to put out, their music. We didn't care about their personal lives per se, not at all. Until social media got huge, we started to care about their personal lives and started to base their artistry based on their personal lives instead of actually the artistry, like what they put out. That's one topic to talk about there. Second, with that situation, it became to the point where now they like the industry started to use their personal life to promote their stuff now. So now it's like even their lives now are plastic. It's not even real either, because now it's just all scripts, or let's do this. Let's you two break
One
up,
long
and
love
when
and
you
hip
guys
hop
break
scene.
up, yeah. So it's kind of like they're ruining their own personal lives just to put just to get money to go on shows like Love and Hip Hop, Growing Up Hip Hop, all those type of shows. Like, so just like the Kardashians, look at them. They literally plan stuff in their lives just so it can make it on TV, and it's not necessarily real, but they make it real. If that makes sense.
Yeah, interchangeable
I can't really
situations.
Yeah. So it's kind of like if someone said, okay, you and Rohan beef. Like, but in real life, you guys aren't mad at each other, but you guys end up beefing for money or beefing just to go on a show or something. But it becomes real because eventually, obviously, when you start acting, you start to feel like it's actually happening. I can't explain it, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about or what I'm referring to. So it's kind of like with the Saweetie and Quavo thing, I realized, like, I found out just by doing research, they are both, this is all a ploy. It's basically just thing just to get their albums up, because Quavo has their album coming, and so does Saweetie, and no one really took that in. No one took that in, that Saweetie was actually collaborating with Gwen Stefani, and she's planning on coming out with an album. They just released a song together, a music video, and that went viral.
So they're messing with the algorithm.
So hold on, is this Lexi breaking news that she's debunked the relationship breakup rumor that Quavo and Saweetie are still together, and this was just a ploy to sell an album?
No, I think they're broken up, or at least on the way out. But
they broke up, but they secretly got back together. Only because I was looking at some of their. Saweetie came out with a. People aren't suspecting they're back together though, because Saweetie just came out with a video today, with her car or something like that. The same car that he said he was going to repossess. And they're still living in the same house. The same house that they've been living in together, she's still there, and the car is still there. So everyone's like, was this just a publicity stunt? And it seems like it, because Quavo has an album coming out, and so does she. So
but let's be real, though. Let's be real. It's hard to take a car back if in the limelight when niggas say you look foolish for that. So that could just be a ploy on this everybody holding fast.
True. But then at the same time, it's like, you know, everyone knows that celebrities do this. Whenever an album's coming out, some shit has to happen. Some crap has to happen.
So, Ro, what's your thought on this?
Like I said, I think if that's true, they're playing around with the algorithms, right? Like, you know, they're getting the searches up, so when the album drops, you know, it's still going to be relevant. The name is going to be there, and like, you know, it's almost like the new form of clickbait. You know, you in a relationship, stir the pot. Break up, stir the pot. Everyone's going to be about the hype. People are going to take sides. You know, they're going to support. So, you know, if that's the celebrity game right now, you know, it just goes more and more that to a certain extent that celebrityism and fame is a business more than an actual status or state.
You don't have any idea how close you are to the truth with that one, bro. There is nothing in being about a celebrity that's not a business. Everything is a monetizable game. Everything.
All the relationships and marriages are businesses at this point.
Yeah, it's a business decision. For a lot of these people, they stay together because it's a business decision.
Because it's a business. Look at Beyonce and Jay-Z. They wanted to split from time. Don't let their little pictures fool you. They literally don't even really want to stay together like that, but they are together because of business ventures. They have so much business together.
But I wouldn't know. But here's the thing. I wouldn't know. True, I think 90% of the shit that people put out about people's relationship are false. I think 90% of the things that we hear about these relationships are from third-party people. Ain't nobody in their relationship going to go tell a paper about they shit to go write about it unless they're a Kardashian and they want to sell a story. Nobody.
Yeah.
It's literally a bunch of third-party people trying to sell a story. That's why a lot of this stuff gets out.
No, but because look at Kanye and Kim. They were pretending that they were so happy for so long. And look at Kanye. Now that they're finally like splitting, Kanye is releasing all the tea.
Yeah, like, but that's what I'm saying, though. But that's a part of the narrative. That might itself be a part of the conspiracy to sell some more shit.
True.
You got to remember, Kanye's in the limelight of being with a Kardashian. So he now knows the playbook.
Yeah, true.
He doesn't know the playbook himself now. He doesn't. You think he's not crazy enough to go with this whole entire thing to let his wife gain more power and then just sit back and chill? That's what loving husbands do sometimes.
Oh, hey, you know what? I guess the truth will come out in that situation.
Exactly. Yeah. We'll see how that lands out. Because to be honest with you, when it comes to Kim and Kanye, that's a whole
different discussion
that we have. Yeah, like we have to see how that pans out because there's a lot to that.
Yeah, let the chips fall before we start discussing anything what happens, because it's all narrative based on what's happening right now, and that doesn't matter ish to a celebrity. A celebrity narrative changes hourly, not even daily, like hourly.
Because I'm even looking online right now, and even there's some blogs that are saying that it's a rumor that they officially broke up, and there's some that's showing like they're doing it for album sales and stuff. So we don't know, right? We'll see in the end if Quavo and Saweetie's really broken up. Because honestly, from what everyone else is seeing and spotting out, is that they still are in the same house together. She still has the car. Like,
well, let's go back to my original question. Is it even important that they broke up?
No.
Is it even news?
It should be about their artistry, but you know how society is now because social media got really big, so everyone cares about their personal life more than anything else, which is kind of sad because I kind of miss the era when we just cared about the music coming out and what they had going on instead of their personal life. I kind of miss that, even though that's not going to come back ever again because social media is huge now, so I guess we're stuck knowing their personal life forever in a sense.
I mean, some people use it as a mark of celebration and a mark of like knowing what to put as their next project. I use Mary J. Blige, for instance. Like her entire life and entire pain and everything she's ever done in her entire life is on record. She doesn't hide nothing. She's put every single thing out that she's ever been through on record. That's her way of, escaping life. So to some degree, you can't get mad when, like, the public has that type of in-depth knowledge about your life and then they want to know more. I just use that as a parallel. Like, I'm not saying like it's a bad thing to put those things out, but it's one of those paralytical norms you're going to end up facing. You put your whole entire life out for people to see, but at the same time, you still want privacy. How is that even possible?
I think the reason why they do that though is because it's their entourage, their team that's telling them to put out certain things in order to get certain attention for certain things. Because remember, they get paid for this stuff, so it's kind of like exploit yourself or you just don't get nothing type of situation. That's what I'm like. I've learned so much even about the entertainment industry that's what they do. It's either you exploit your life or you don't really get much at all.
Well, like their livelihood is based off of monetization, what they do. So if they're not producing content for people in order to consume, they're going to have to work with something else. And sometimes it's making a spectacle of themselves, which is generating enough interest in a general aspect, right? So we're encouraging this behavior based off people, participating and showing engagement and stuff like that. But, it's kind of the demon that we open. Like, how do we put all this back in a box? How do we get back to the real, right? Like, people should be respected and embraced for their craft, not for their craftiness.
Exactly.
But I think that's the perfect statement you just made.
I make perfect
celebrating craftiness. We're not celebrating people's craft and how they're actually executing life anymore. We're celebrating them for the things and the maneuvers that they make to get to the end result, rather than the end result, the beginning and the middle.
Yeah. It's all about the spectacle.
Yeah, it's just the end. It's like everything's cannon fodder now.
To be honest with you, when I think about it deeper, we can bring it back to that era or that time when it was just the interviews and just their craft. It's just the fact that nowadays people like to clout chase, that they would put their life on like out there on the line just to make money and just to have people talk. If celebrities put their foot down and actually started saying, you know what, screw this, let's just put out our music, put out our craft only, and only do interviews and talk about, you know, stuff that we like for example, foods that we like simple interview question stuff, like things that people should know on the surface level, not in our personal lives, like our marriages, our kids. If they did that, if every celebrity did that,
I think those days are gone.
I know, but I think if they did that, it would bring it back to that. But
no, the reason why I think, sorry, yeah, finish your point.
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think the reason why those days are gone is just due to the fact that we now spend more time on social engagement and what a person is doing than actually what they're talented for. We spend far too much time being engaged on what a celebrity does every single day. Like, why do you think Instagram exists? It's not to promote music. It's to promote their pictures of what their lifestyle is.
Yeah.
We go on.
But what I'm saying is, if they put a stand, right? Like
no celebrity's gonna do that because they monetize themselves off of it. They make money. They're never. You're gonna expect them to cut their money short based on engagement. Nobody's gonna do that.
That's like asking the drug industry to be like, you should sell us drugs at cost and do things because it's beneficial to the well-being of mankind. Nah, man, everybody wants to get paid.
What the hell are you talking? I'm making more addicted to drugs.
Not only that, that's like asking the Kardashian family not to post their entire life. They can't stop.
They make money from that. Like that's the social engagement that we live in.
But that's where things get sad, is that nowadays you make money off of exploiting yourself, literally.
We always did.
Head to toe.
We always did. A person said this to me once, and it's the honest truth. He says, you're either the pimp or you're either the hoe. And I asked him to expand on that. And he said, listen, you're either the one at your job every day, being pimped, getting a salary, trying to make an ends meet, or you're either the hoe being pimped every single day, trying to make a salary, or you're the pimp. You're the person telling somebody to do something, getting them to do what you want, and trying to execute. It's a world of pimp or hoes. How much compensation? Yeah, how much compensation are you willing to take for how much shit you're willing to do? That's it.
Yeah.
Hoes are willing to do this because the reason why hoism is hard, because they already know what they're willing to take. They're willing to take a dick in the mouth for X amount of money.
Yeah, we get it.
We aren't. We just aren't built that way. We aren't willing to say that.
Yeah, like, to be honest, that's how the world's always been when you think about it. In order to really get a lot of money, get status, whatever, you got to put yourself out there. Like, you really have to. If you want to stay in the same bubble like you're in, like, if you don't want to exploit yourself in any way, shape, or form, you're going to stay in that little bubble that you're in and be ran. You know, that's just how the world works, sadly.
Look at corporate interest. How many people these days complain about corporations taking over their lives, allowing them not to be allowed to accomplish this, and X, when they're the ones who are the master of the corporation because they buy all the products. They get it backwards. They're the actual pimp, but they don't seem to realize they have a whole mentality.
Because if they stop, you would be able to stop that corporation.
It's the same thing with celebrities. Celebrities can stop putting their lives out there, but they don't get paid.
At the end of the day, it's cause and effect, right? So yes, you're right. Consumers can speak with their wallets in regards to doing stuff, but unfortunately, you know, the mindful consumer and people being conscious about what they're investing themselves into, they're not going to take that responsibility. So as much as we want to make some celebrities or make celebrities responsible, which some will be, the majority of them are going to sit there and continue to exploit themselves. And if we continue kind of accepting that weather, so it's like an experiment. Right now, they're like, yeah, let's see if we can, you know, pull the wool over everybody's eyes, get some numbers on, and then, you know, if everything goes well, yeah, we work things out. If everything goes south, they're gonna sit there and, you know, burn each other and then go from there, right? Like,
what do you think? We're in the Saweetie and Quavo Truman Show.
Sure.
Shout out to you know, one of my favorite actors, Jim Carrey, for that movie. That was a great movie. Y'all millennials won't know about that Truman Show. Go watch it.
All right. So what was the other thing we were going to touch base on today?
Mr. Prince Philip dying.
No, we already talked about that.
Oh yeah, we got him
Oh
on
no,
there.
it was supposed to
Yeah.
be Corona and and Doug Ford. Yeah.
Oh yes.
Oh, we're the
What
Corona
is
thing. Oh my God.
What is essential and what? No, it's not even just a Corona thing. It's what is essential and what is deemed non-essential these days inside of a store. That is stupid as crap. Like you can't. I have women that have posted that they can't buy diapers and they can't buy feminine hygiene products. That's how is that not classified as essential? Like I don't understand these
Exactly.
things. Like we can walk into a store that has all the stuff that we need, and you got to walk past it and order it online. Diapers. Why is mothers being forced to order diapers online?
That's just crazy to me.
It kind of see, and this is the funny thing is, it's just like politicians are idiots.
Bars.
And the reason why I say this is because it's how do you expect the average consumer, the average individual, not to sit here and speculate that there's some kind of conspiracy? You're right. If you know you're going to execute this plan, like it's a difference in saying, hey, you know, we're going to shut down everything and blah, blah, blah. But the writing was on the wall for a while that we would have to do a full shutdown, right? People have been saying it. The average person is going to be getting ready with it. And they always act like it's a last minute thing. And it's always this, oh, we're going to execute it in 48 hours. Like, wouldn't you take an opportunity to say the numbers aren't working in our favor? Let's get everybody ready. Let's get everybody out to kind of get the necessities you need and then shut it down. You're sitting there and you're deeming everything unessential. But if I went on Amazon right now, they'll order it. If I went onto the website, I could still order it.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, it's just reckless.
Oh, no, go ahead. Sorry, Roman.
No, it's just reckless. It's reckless and it's on the line of irresponsibility based off of
it's highly irresponsible. Like, how do you put your citizens at risk? Like, there are a majority of people in society who do not have access to the internet. How are those people going to live their lives now based on the fact that all of the goods and commerce that they need to order now has to come through a phone? There are people who don't have an address. How are you going to litter, like the shelter system, all of those people who litter have the ability to just run in and grab a quick thing that they needed to survive. All of those people now are up Schitt's Creek because you decided to only put food on the list. What about that guy who might need a sock, like a pair of socks, a jacket, because it's cold and it's switched?
Well, if at the same token, they're going to sit there and make the declaration on what is essential and what's not, it's just like when you're coming to this determination and you're doing everything ad hoc, you're telling me that all these officials, these like Doug Ford, how much is he making now? He's sitting at I think he's worth like 50 million or something like that. We're probably gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, more than that.
But you know, you're getting paid to be strategic and you and your teams to try and figure out what the next step is. But you're constantly reacting to this pandemic. And you're not saying, hey, you know what, if we went into a scenario, we should plan, like, if everything goes according to plan, we should execute this. If things are compromised, we should be able to execute this. If things are really on we should be able to execute this. And let the people who are involved be aware of it. The biggest issue that these guys are having is that they're acting like they're reacting and they're putting the liability and responsibility on us. They're sitting there and saying, hey, you know what? You know, the numbers are going up. We're going to take something away from the public, but it's your fault.
But that's by design, though. Huh? I think that's completely by design, though, because they have ability to roll out a plan months and generally before. They have all the information.
It's not even months before, because I did research on this years ago. I already saw this coming from a mile away. And when I spoke about this, people thought I was crazy. And now that it's happening, people are like, because like literally they planned this more than 10 years ago. If believe it or not, they did. The reason why they're doing all this stuff, because I even have all the articles that I read on like years ago, and I still saved them somewhere, but I'll send it to you guys in the chat after. But they've been planning this for years. They're doing this on purpose so that they force people to go online, because in the next year or so, more than likely in 2022 or 2023, but I would say 2022 is going to be a cashless society. They're trying to do a cashless society. yeah, because they do want to do the chip thing. That thing is gonna come out whether you guys like it or not. Like hands down. They're slowly doing it. So they could have easily done it fast. But of course the world would have been on riots. It would have been,
But here's the
fighting
thing.
for that stuff to stop.
But I'd
overall,
actually like offer a counter to this though. I think Rohan and you're both yourselves are right when it says that the government themselves could have done a better job of how they rolled out the information and how they actually implement their information. But I also think that society is so damn lazy and so insufferable right now that they need to be led like sheep. The average person who is already prepared for something like that isn't bothered by this. I got a shit ton
Yeah,
of food in my
exactly.
house. I already had toilet paper. I already had all of these things and never had to worry about lockdowns. Nothing changed for me
Yeah,
other than the times and the hours that I could go to work. Other people who didn't
exactly.
live a sense of just a consumerism lifestyle, a person who just thought to themselves, yo, I'm going to wake up every day and consume, 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 and not plan for the
Hmm.
future. Those are the sheep that are being led right now. The
Exactly.
average human being who understands that these particular things can happen. You've lived through a hurricane, you've lived through a storm in your life. This isn't the first time that, like, look what happened in the ice storm 4 or 5 years ago. All throughout Canada was locked down, shut off. You couldn't get to a storm, and people didn't learn from just that.
Not only that, like they've warned everybody from last year to stock up on food and everything, but no one took it seriously because they're like, oh, everything's fine right now. People forget. Stop thinking about the present. Think about the future because you know how the government stays. They're gonna do stuff to mess things up later down the line. When they did tell everybody to stack up on tissue, food, you name it, no one was really listening. The ones who stacked up, they're fine because even I'm fine. I'm cool here too. If you were listening, you're fine. If you weren't listening and didn't take it seriously, you're the one that's mainly, I would say, complaining or having an issue with it the most out of other people. That's one thing I've.
At the end of the day, you're totally right. Let's see, people should be in a position to prepare themselves, especially because the pandemic, it's not ending tomorrow, and you should do your due diligence in order to like stock up on the essentials and make sure that you're good to go, right? But it sucks because for some people they can invest. The average household who's living paycheck to paycheck or being victimized by the nature of society and being kind of put in that new subset of lower, upper, middle, bottom class. It makes it very difficult for them to kind of stay afloat. It's revealing a lot of things. They were saying a survey that almost 56% of the people are $200 away from being broke.
Broke, yeah.
Right?
They're in
That's
so much
disgusting.
social debt that they've used up their credit cards. They've used up every form of income that they had and no ability to actually bounce back from something like this.
Right. So, those are the people who are really scrambling, right? The people who can prepare and get them stuff like you, me, Lexi, people around us, that we're doing okay. We're not speaking ill of anybody else, but yeah, there are people who are suffering. And it's one of those things like we have
How many
elected
people
officials.
saved? Like, how
Huh?
many people actually saved a part of their paycheck every week? Like, how many people
Yeah.
were actually thinking that I need to put we're all Jamaican here, so we all have the understanding about vex money. Vex money. You know what I'm saying? I have to keep your vex money in my pocket, because you never know what could happen. How many people in today's general have an understanding of just that principle alone?
Well, it speaks volumes. So yes, okay. In the grand scheme of stuff, I hope that anybody who's worth their weight in salt in this scenario can look back and say, you know what, I'm going to try my best in order to prepare not only for, heaven forbid, if we run into another scenario, find a way to deal with this scenario and ride the tide, but also learn from this and apply these lessons to be like, I need to be at least more conscious about how I deal with my day to day, right? Because the only difference between how some people are suffering right now financially and how people would be suffering in a regular aspect is that the whole world is slowing down. So if you're like, I need to figure out a way to make money, but the world is kind of not good to go, you're kind of screwed. Versus, I need to figure out a way to get money. I can do a hustle because there's a lot of things going on, right? So there's definitely a life lesson on that. And people need to take away from this an opportunity because the average person should have like $2,000 set aside for emergencies. The ideal scenario would be to have a number of months worth of wages if a situation happens, whether or not death, tragedy, job loss, etc. Those are all job and financial lessons that the average person is not aware of. right?
Not even I'm not talking about just the money, fam. I'm talking about even having enough food in your house for a month. Like being able to survive and having enough practical stuff inside your house that just in case, yo, I run out of money right now and I get locked in my house right now, I have enough stuff in my house to survive for a month. People don't do that.
Right. So the point that we're getting at is that, like, if we separate everything, yes, there's a certain responsibility of the public that they need to start doing in order to protect themselves from this fuckery, right? On not only what we're doing individually, what we're doing to each other, and what we're subjected to by elected officials, right? Like, make sure you have the money set aside, understanding where your finances are. Yes, if you have $10 and you find a way to save some money, you know, you save $2 of it and spend 8. Yeah, you're saving the money, but you really should learn how to make more money. It's still save that $8, save that, live within that $8 range. But also in regards to the elected official, because that's what we're really talking about, like Doug Ford and the rest of them. It's just like they need to be really held accountable, right? When everything's said and done. Yes, the ultimate thing is going back and saying, okay, which color are we going to choose? So when the election comes around, are we going to go team red again in Ontario? Or are we going to go team orange or maybe team green? Who knows, right?
But I think all of them have done such a fantastic job of failing and showing that they don't have any inability to actually think this far. Like you said, it's about infrastructure and rollout. And nobody has presented a plan, not even the conservatives, not the liberals, not anybody, about how to handle this.
Right, because
the issue of just ineptitude.
Right, and it's kind of one of those things. Like, I'm not going to say I'm a world-class web designer, but like the lottery that we're in Brampton, right, with our postal code, we're supposed to be eligible for vaccines. There's a lot of people who can't even register.
Facts.
Like, bruh, are you kidding me?
Like, how is that even a processable thing? Like, people aren't even eligible for it and they're inside the zip code. Like, how is that even a thing?
Well, the website's having issues. So you're a government official. You can't contact somebody like AWS and be like, yo, Amazon, I need to make sure that this website working so we can get the vaccine rollout. Like, it's kind of embarrassing.
Even having a redundant system to make sure that you have a group of web designers or somebody, having your own like your own goddamn governmental website. So all of this stuff streamlines and you never have this issue. Stuff like that is infrastructural issues that they don't think about. And it drives me crazy because here I am having to live in this world with these unsmart people and then have to vote for another group of unsmart people every year.
I don't know. Like, everyone's saying about rioting and all that shit stuff. What
the fuck is that going to accomplish? You're going to burn a bunch of the shit that you need?
No, man. When election comes, people just need to know how to call people's bullshit and be like, all right, cool. We're going to give you a report card on how you did. And this is what we're expecting from whoever the next official is. And it's just like, yo.
Like right now, Doug Ford is marking about a C to F average on a lot of stuff. He is declining on a lot of other stuff. His early response had him at about B minus, but after everything else, he's dropped to an easy C minus right now. Everything he's been doing is just an utter potential of failure. And it's the same thing with Trudeau, and it's the same thing with our mayor. It's everything. Like, the whole entire scope of our government is not like watching what we need as a society. They're just reacting.
Yeah, like, we should be reacting, not them. They're the one who's getting the information and being able to put things into plan and a certain degree of execution, and they can't keep doing this. That's, like, honestly, look at what you're doing. Businesses are upset with these guys, not necessarily because they have to shut down. It's just that one week you say we're open, next week you're going to close down. You're going to say this business is essential, this isn't. This aspect is essential, this isn't. Even Costco was saying that they're struggling with the logistics of their store because they have to rope off entire sections, but key items are there.
How are they going to do that? They have, like, literally half their items that are food and non-essentials are in the same exact aisles. That means they can logistically change every single thing in the entire store. Like, that doesn't make any sense for them.
Right, because of the nature of their layouts. They go all these years of studying and say, hey, you know what? These are key items. These are anchor items. These are this, that. So it's unfortunate. Same with the dollar store. Dollar store is roping off a lot of things. And that's essentially what people can't afford.
How is the dollar store going to run? Like, 2/3 of the stuff that you don't go into the dollar store to go buy flour, bro.
You go you don't, but somebody else does.
No, but I'm saying the aspect of the dollar store is to buy non-reformic items that are small and essential. Small and essential items that cost under $1. The whole entire store is full of essential products. All of it.
Yeah.
Now you're going to tell me that 90% of the store is not usable because you deem it non-essential when 90% of the store is the shit that we need? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Walmart, I can understand. Costco, to some degree, I can understand because ain't nobody need to buy a 50-inch TV in the middle of the pandemic. That's understandable. Stuff like that.
Did you guys hear about Doug Ford also not including any paid sick days for like any of the essential workers as well?
We've been fighting that forever. As an essential worker, we've been like last year. What happened was the original system that was mandated was that you were actually given 5 paid sick days. He took that out and created the new system. Yeah, he took that out. And now everybody's been fighting him because here's the thing. You have a whole essential workers who have been working every day since this has happened and don't have any ability to take any time off.
That's actually a hazardous thing because then when you think about it, there's people going to work sick or like that's not symptomatic either. Like, and you don't even know, like, that's the thing. Like, people are still going to work because they know if they do take off any days, they're not going to get paid, and they need to get paid, especially in this COVID time. Like, I don't know what's going on at Ford, but he needs to really fix up because he's actually ruining Ontario. Like, not even just Ontario, Ottawa too. Because I heard Ottawa has this, like basically all of Canada has the same rules.
It's not just him; it's the whole entire system branch. That's it. It's Trudeau. It's all of them. They all need to come up with a general plan of how Canada needs to operate, and they have not done so. They're just just like Rohan said, they're just operating off of instinct. They didn't sit down as an entire government and say, okay, layer 1, this is how we're going to do it. If everybody dies among this or blah, 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 we're going to do this. Layer 2, if this goes well, then we can escalate it to X. Layer 3, if the worst case scenario and everything goes wrong, this is what we're going to do. And they didn't, and they can present that to the public. Here is our first plan.
At the end of the day, it's poor planning on every level. Yes, I understand they're human, just like anybody else. But like, you have the situation when we got out of the lockdown, they're like, oh, we're going to go back to the color system, but we're going to implement this new thing called the emergency brake. Okay, I'm sorry, what? Did you just look at your dry shaft and you're like, hey, that's a clever name for it? Like
literally.
At the end of the day, go ahead, Lex.
Oh, no, I was just saying, I feel like, actually, you could go ahead, finish what you're saying, because I actually want to hear you say.
So it's ironic, Andrew. You probably remember this about a year ago when we were like dealing with toilet paper and shit like that. I was saying at the projection that they have for the CERB and how much it's going to cost to get everybody, they should have implemented a full-fledged lottery-based shutdown.
Me and you talked about this entire thing based on that,
right? And either regionally or coast to coast. Like the big meme right now is just like, yeah, we're on like week 56 of our 2-week flatten the curve. Right? So if scientists said, hey, it costs this, we need this much time, whatnot, we're able to do this, it would have been a lot easier and financially feasible if they just did a full-fledged shutdown. Said everybody needs to get what they need, implement supply chains, figure out how long it'll take logistically to get everything up here, and just have everybody carted off. It would have been easier to deal with the streets. And it would have been manageable. People would be able to project accordingly and say, hey, okay, fine, we're going to do this for a couple of months. You know, I need to figure out what to do, whether or not it's getting a bunch of puzzles and like, you know, like figuring out buying a bunch of new video games, you know, getting a new workout equipment for the gym, and be able to buckle down. That's it.
Bro, there was actually a council of I can't remember, like, don't quote me on the name of it. Let's just call them the Society for Planning or whatever. They basically came and approached the government, I think last year at around the apex of when everything was going on with the toilet paper crisis and everything. And they proposed a general consumer plan that actually encapsulated a budget plan for the entire governmental shutdown for us to lock down Canada. They actually supposed that you hand everybody $2,500 every, I think it was $1,200 a week for every person that lived here. And they were supposing this was supposed to run for 4 months straight. And the supposed budget was supposed to be 180 million. It was going to cost us outright. And that was supposed to stop the shutdown. And they basically said, no, we can do this for less money. It's already gone way over. That's an infrastructural buyouts. And the fact that we have to purchase so much extra PPE equipment and all the other things, we've already exceeded that money 4 times over now.
Yeah.
Like, if we just listen to smart planners from the beginning of this entire crisis, we actually could have been ahead right now.
Yeah.
Anyways, at the end of the day, we can talk about this ad nauseum. Unfortunately, it's our reality until it changes. But like, Doug Ford and the rest of you guys, you blew it.
Yes,
right?
he did.
Everybody who has an opportunity to get vaccinated, you should. Anti-vaxxers, all these anti-maskers, at the end of the day, just get it done, right? Like, we all want to get back to some degree of normalcy and stuff like that. And, it's path of least resistance. If they're sitting, like, honestly, bruh, you're sitting here and worrying about being programmed, microchip, this, that, da, da, da. If they really want to, they put in our food already.
Bars.
No.
Right?
I'm telling you, they're slowly getting that done. They would not do it that quick. They have a plan. This has been planned for more than 10 years. I'm telling you, I did research on this for years. Like I said, after all of this, I'll send you guys all the articles I've been reading for years with the New Yorker. I'm someone who's highly into politics, into the government, so I've been literally tracking them down for years with this. They are going to do what they plan, just not in the time that you feel. Like, don't let this stuff fool you. Like, that's why I feel like they're exaggerating all of this, because this is not anything huge. Like, especially with Doug Ford putting out all these things, stopping all this stuff. All this is a ploy. As much as people, like, I get it. Yeah, the illness might be real or certain things, but in all honesty, I feel like it's just a 5G, because the 5G, they've been planning the 5G situation for so long as well. The 5G is going to affect a lot of people's bodies, because obviously 5G is not something we're supposed to be intaking environmentally. It's not. Whoever can survive that is people that actually are healthy or like on the verge of like just being healthy, but they're doing it purposely to kill off the people who aren't healthy. Because to be honest with you, I don't know if you guys remember, but they had the Healthy People 2020. That was from last year. They started 5G last year on purpose because they want healthy people on Earth. They've literally been talking about this on live interviews in front of people, but people don't understand politics talk, so they just go but they're not taking in what they're saying, because they like to say it in a more professional manner, so it flies over your head. I'm someone who listens to everything they say. They think some people are stupid, and they're really not. Like, I've been taking in what they were saying about Healthy People 2020 and all that stuff. They purposely did this stuff to kill off people slowly. 5G is the one that's killing off people. It's not necessarily COVID. This is BS. Like, it's literally 5G. Like, they planned this 10 years ahead of time, way long ago.
Lex. You got to think about the 5G phenomenon hasn't just been a rollout of now. Like, 5G has been used by the Army since.
But it wasn't worldwide. Wasn't worldwide.
No, let me show you something. In Toronto, there's a base called Moss Park Armories. On top of the tower in the middle of the city, and I mean in the middle of the city, there's a giant 5G tower. It's been there since I came to Canada.
No, but you're not understanding. It wasn't worldwide. That's why when they were putting up the 5G towers, they had all of those people building it up since last year. I don't know if you remember when you saw all the construction happening
I remember
last year. And they literally were doing it. Now it's fully connected. Like, I wish I could explain it in depth, but it's a lot to say. And especially, I don't know if you guys have enough time for that anyway. And not much people are going to understand science talk, because I love science. I love topics like this, because this is stuff I research daily. Like, this is stuff I'm into all the time on YouTube. So it's like, I've been on the government's ass since day one, especially the US. So I'm really keen on this stuff. Like, literally, I'll show you all the
there's usually data to support this, to some degree.
Yeah, like I'll literally show you all the stuff I've been seeing. Like, I've been reading, especially the New Yorker, and I forgot his name. I think it was Pence. Pence was talking about it on the New Yorker last year in 2020, and he was purposely like, the thing is, what baffles me is that they speak about this in front of everybody. And then no one really listens.
You don't need to hide information. You put it plainly in front of somebody, and then they either adapt to it or they ignore it.
No, but that's why they treat the world like we're stupid, because they actually say these things to our face, but in a professional and an educated manner. But they feel like we're not that smart to understand what they're saying. But I'll be honest, majority of the world does not understand what they're saying because they are saying it in a smart way. But if you are smart yourself, you would literally know what they're saying. Like, they're literally telling you to your face, we're purposely killing you guys. Like you guys are sitting there taking all the shit that we're giving you. Like, basically. And then what I don't like is that people are like, yeah, but they're in the world with us too. You realize they have more money, they have more power than us. They can avoid all these things purposely. Just like with the chemtrails. The people who even put out the chemtrails, they avoid all of that too, the chemicals and everything like that as well. They literally do this to us purposely every day.
I mean, this is another topic for another discussion about like the conspiracy
because
theories of the world. It goes deep and it's a rabbit hole.
Deeper than that.
Yeah, it's a rabbit hole within itself. I mean, the thing is,
the rabbit hole goes deep.
The thing is, with all of the problems that we have with our general government, I still subscribe to the theory that it all goes back to you as the consumer, you as the voter, you as the person. You don't allow these people to continue doing these things if you are en masse and on when you are aware. The average person these days does not care to be aware. I think that's 90% of the problem we're looking at. The average human being. Sorry.
Oh no, sorry, I interrupted you. Continue. I just thought you were done. That's all.
You should learn. I'm never done.
No,
he admitted it live, people.
I was just saying that one thing that just came to mind that I just remembered is that Doug Ford was talking about the reasons why he doesn't want to give paid sick days to any of the essential workers is because he doesn't want to waste taxpayers' money. But it's funny because they waste taxpayers' money on other things that are like.
But hold on, how is it a waste of taxpayers' money to pay people who are essential for time off? I don't understand that level of thinking.
Because I don't. To be honest with you. That's something I read on him on what he said about that, but it does make sense because even with people that go to jail, taxpayers' money are going towards people in jail as well. Like every time they go to court, anytime they can, like everything is paid off of you. Everyone should know this already.
Yeah.
All your taxes are going to everything in the country. They're not paying for shit. It's everybody else paying for it. That's why everyone has taxes because you're paying for everything that goes on. For example, if someone in jail, like they're going to court over something so stupid, like because there was a situation like that happened in Toronto where everyone's taxpayers' money went to a certain prisoner that went to court just so that they could see their mom for like a day or one of their family members for a day, and it was how much? I think it was almost $1 million around there. And it was I think it was like 700,000, somewhere around there. And everybody was pissed. I remember that day. I think it was last year in 2020 this happened. And everybody was pissed off. Like literally everybody was pissed off. Everyone was talking about it. And I think it was on Six Buzz at one point when they were saying like, it was ridiculous that all the taxpayers' money is going to that one guy just for him to visit his mom. And I think
I think that's the whole entire struggle that we have. We spend more time being pissed off where our tax money is going rather than the elected officials that we actually put to spend our tax money. Exactly. It comes down to the laziness of the public. We spend far too much time being held up by dumb shit. It's a distraction. Yeah. We get distracted by certain things and then we're cool with it. That's half the problem. Like we can spend a million years talking about this, but at the end of the day, I think what it comes down to is educate yourself, people, learn what your politicians are doing, pay attention to yourself and have knowledge yourself. And that's the ingredients for life.
At the end of the day, I agree with that, Andrew. And like to touch on that, it's just like the way the government was designed and taxation and stuff like that. Initially, the political way to put it is to finance the things collectively so we're not responsible for things individually, right? We all pay for roads, we all pay for schools, we all pay for hospitals, all that sort of stuff. So if we're in a situation, unfortunately, we're never going to get rid of government because, we need an entity that kind of manages the affairs that we're not willing to deal on our own.
Everybody needs
we just need people that are fair enough to work in the government. That's the problem.
And that goes And that goes back to education and being aware of how things are going on. If more people were able to call the bullshit on some of the things, then they would have to be mindful in how they spend it because people would be a little bit more conscious. If it, like, you know, instead of the conspiracy theorists and all that sort of stuff, information should be presented in facts so people can digest it. And also, everyone should get a little bit more engaged in the affairs, either community wide or, you know, regional wide or logistically, and just come to terms with what's happening so it doesn't happen. Because when these things catch up on us, like what's wrong, what's right, what's left, what's right, like we can't tell, right? And we're subjected to all this foolishness to the point where, you know, you're stuck minding your own business because it's easier. But if you made it your business, then things would have been better.
A lot easier, a lot faster. I mean, Lex, you want to give your final thought on this, and then I'll just finish it off.
Oh no, my last final thought I would say is just like what Rohan said, we can't take away government, but I feel like we just need to get the next generation or just people in general, like, that are not greedy to be in office. I know it's going to be quite hard because who's in office now, it's pretty much, I don't know the right word for it, but
who you got?
It's pretty hard to kick out the people that are in office now because they've been there for so long, and it's hard to get into positions like that, period. But it's still a good fight to get proper people in office so that things could be more fair for Canada in general.
I mean, here's my final thought on this. Who you know represents you. Who you have in power and how much economic power you have is actually your only actual power in today's market. We, and all of us in this society have to understand a simple little principle here. If you take care of your house like you took care of everything else in your personal life, you would be in a better position. And what I mean by this is, a lot of people think politics is just, oh, we can't do anything about it, and who cares? That's the worst thought process to begin with.
Exactly.
Because you are the biggest problem, because your voice at the end of the day does not get counted. It doesn't matter.
It matters, though.
And it doesn't allow others to actually find out what you're doing. Second thing, politicians as a whole are only there to execute what they can and what they cannot get away with. They know the average human being does not pay attention to what they're doing, so that's why they get away with a lot of shit. Thirdly, and the final thought, if you as a human being, if you're a parent and your child was acting up, your first thought is to discipline them. Your second thought is to figure out what made them cause that. And your third thought is to fix that issue. Why do we not take the same principles towards life? Think about everything like you are a parent, and it is your precious little thing. But instead, we think that is disposable and it's fragile and it's easy to replace. Once we get beyond that thinking, life will be better. That's my final thought.
Well said.
Sounds good. So on that note, we should wrap things up. So
yeah,
you know, it's your squad here, your Double S Club, and definitely we're asking everybody to like and subscribe, and share, so we can grow and bring all you wonderful people all these wonderful nuggets of information. And until next time, that's Lexi, Andrew, and Rohan.
You already know what it is. We out.
Take care. Stay safe.